How's it going, Ram fans? Welcome back to another week of CTV Sports. I'm Ella Fredrickson.
And I'm Mike Walsh, and here are your top stories for the week. CSU football will look to get their season finally back on track when they take on Sacramento State after a rough non-conference stretch thus far.
We join CTV feature reporter Taylor Paulman as she sits down to discuss the recent $5 million donation to women's athletics at Colorado State.
And Out-of-Pocket returns once again as we will discuss how panicked fans should be for both the CSU football team and the Denver Broncos, with both teams off to rocky starts in their 2022 campaigns.
All that and more right here on CTV Sports, which starts right now.
We begin with CSU football. The Rams took the trip up to Pullman, Washington this past Saturday to try and claim its first victory of the year against Washington State. However, that was not what actually happened, as Ram fans may just want to tune me out for the next few minutes. The Rams may not have come away with their first W on the young season, but they did what they seem to do every week, and that is show few signs of greatness. They just can't seem to get more than a few of those signs every single game. Colorado State seemed to follow its exact game plan from last week by letting its opponent get out to a big lead right away, and I mean big. Going down 21-0 in the first 13 minutes of play, and what's worse, the Rams didn't even reach the end zone until early on in the fourth quarter. At this point, I don't really know what to say anymore. Now, usually we would say that the box score doesn't tell the whole story, but in this one, it truly did, as Washington State bested CSU in almost every category, with more total yards, rushing yards, first downs, and also receiving fewer penalties. If the Rams are going to start winning some games, then they must start getting some winning numbers in some of these stat lines. Head coach Jay Norvell knows he and his team aren't happy and had this to say after the game on Saturday.
And we just haven't seen enough continuity to this point, and we got to continue to do that. We got a lot of young guys playing that need to play better, and we'll continue to try to help them. But we're not discouraged what we can accomplish if we can turn that attitude around and get in the win column and start getting some momentum. And
obviously, there are not a ton of people happy about the Rams' start to the season. However, we are only 3 games into the season, and we have definitely seen some good things. Hopefully, the team can figure things out in practice this week and come out swinging next game day. Speaking of next game day, Ella, what can you tell us about the upcoming matchup for the Rams?
Well, Mike, CSU takes on Sacramento State this weekend right here on campus for the annual Orange Out Aggie Day. Like Mike just broke down for you, the Rams' trip to Pullman, Washington did not go as planned. But now that all of CSU faithful is hoping to consider that mess old news, taking down the Hornets is the main focus. While the Rams and Cougars were battling out on the West Coast, Sacramento was on the road in the cornfields facing, and in the end, beating Northern Iowa. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What the heck is Sacramento State? But let me tell you, they are dangerous and for real, combining a strong rushing game with a reliant kicker on special teams. The Hornets are 2-0, ranked 7th in the FCS, and reminiscent of South Dakota State just a season ago. This isn't going to be an easy takedown for the Rams. The Hornets have a unique offensive playbook employing both of their quarterbacks effectively. Quarterback Asher O'Hara is the star on the ground, putting up 3 touchdowns against Northern Iowa alone. Meanwhile, this man, Jake Dunaway, is the gunslinger, airing it out all across the field. The duo runs the attack, and if the Rams want to win this ballgame, they must play a full 60 minutes instead of the usual second half appearance. That being said, the good also comes with the ugly, and there are certainly some bright spots that could help the green and gold come away with this one. The most obvious is the Hornets' defense. This unit consistently allows a mass amount of yards against them. They gave up 33 points to Dixie State, so if the Rams can avoid those forced turnovers, we could actually reach the end zone more than once. We know Millen is capable of throwing the ball. The issue comes with the lack of time he is allowed to do so. For example, in the first half alone against WSU, Millen was sacked 4 times and 7 by the time the clock struck 0. That means Millen has been sacked 23 times in 3 games, by far the worst in all of college football. Hopefully, Millen can get some protection this upcoming Saturday against a weary Sacramento State defense. But Mike, let's shift gears away from football, shall we?
Absolutely, Ella. How about women's soccer? The Rams made a Midwest trip last Sunday to take on the Roos of UMKC, and that stands for University of Missouri-Kansas City, in case you're wondering. But anyway, back to the girls' match. Now this one was kind of boring to say the least, ending in a scoreless tie. But don't let that final result fool you, as the Rams had plenty of scoring options, leaving the game with 5 shots on goal from 13 total shot attempts. The stats make it seem like there should have been at least 1 goal scored, but unfortunately both teams just could not capitalize on their chances. Still though, the Rams kept up the pressure all game long with plays like these from their attackers. So obviously there were some chances, they just never came to fruition for the Rams. On a more positive note though, the defense was as strong as ever, as we can see here from a diving save by Rams goalkeeper Emily Gavilet. And we even almost squeaked in a go-ahead goal on this free kick in the last 10 minutes of regulation. But again, the Rams were denied. The match was a dull conclusion to the non-conference, as the Rams now pivot for the crux of their schedule, the Mountain West. Ella, what can you tell us about the rest of the league this year?
Well, Mike, first off, it begins this upcoming Thursday in California against San Diego State at 8 in the evening. Before we get into that, let's take a look at how the Mountain West is shaping up this year. As you can see, the Rams sit around the middle of the pack at a dead even 500. Just a few spots ahead are the, as before mentioned, San Diego State Aztecs. In fact, most all of the Mountain West is hovering around that 500 area, except for a few outliers at the bottom. Though the Rams have 3 losses on the year, none have a deficit greater than 3, which I am taking as promising as they enter Mountain West play. The biggest competition of the year this upcoming slate comes courtesy of Boise State in just over a week. Unlike the others, the Broncos have separated themselves somewhat at the top, as they currently lead the standings and don't seem to be stopping their momentum anytime soon. Luckily for the Rams, they do have the home field advantage in this one in a little over a week. But enough of Boise State, because like I said at the top, San Diego State is up first. And although it is an away game for the Rams, get this, the Aztecs have been rather lackluster as of late. Just like CSU, San Diego State has a consistent lockdown defense. Oh yes, once again, this may not be the most high-scoring game, but it will certainly be competitive, as shown by the multiple ties on both teams' schedules thus far. The Aztecs do have one weakness, and that is closing, blowing 2 leads in their last 3 games alone. If the Rams can get the offense going and Emily Gavilet shuts down the net, this may be the first of many Mountain West victories. As always, CTV Sports will keep you updated as these games progress throughout the next couple of weeks. But now let's get the first ever update on tennis and golf this fall. Mike?
Thanks, Ella. We'll start with tennis, where the Rams sent 4 to the Bedford Cup Finals over at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. This group contained 3 singles and a doubles team. Unfortunately for CSU, though, only one of them came away victorious. Transfer Emily Dush captured the Bravo draw crown, defeating Abby Katuna of Air Force by a big margin of 6-2 and then 6-1. Though the Rams fell in the other finals appearances, they were all very contentious matches. The weekend tournament, I would say, was a success for the Rams. And like tennis, both men's and women's golf clubs were also in action this past weekend. On the men's side, they entered today with the lead at the Rams Masters. CSU struggled in the first round, but a surge in the succeeding round has put them up in front. On the other hand, the women slipped to 6th through 36 holes of the Badger Invite, posting its lowest season opening score in 5 years. So fingers crossed the Rams can improve, but even then the players, like so many other women athletes on campus, still feel a riveting energy. And CTV feature reporter Taylor Pomman joins us in the studio to tell you why. Taylor?
Thanks, Mike. As you heard a few weeks ago, some of the women's athletic programs here at Colorado State are benefiting from a $5 million donation from the Bohemian Foundation. I got the opportunity to chat with Athletic Director Joe Parker and a few of the student athletes to hear about what it means to them and how this will impact CSU women's sports going forward. If you've been on the northwest side of campus recently, you might have noticed some extreme renovations taking place behind Moby Arena. The Bohemian Foundation contribution, which is the highest donation in Mountain West history to go strictly towards women's sports, is already being put to use as their athletes wait eagerly to see their newly upgraded facilities, including fields and locker rooms.
Before, we always knew we had a nice field, and we didn't really have much around it. The fans would come, they come down the outfield, come down the hill, like that was always fun. But we feel like with the stadium, we'll hopefully be able to more attract students and not just like close family or people who just love softball.
About $4 million of the donation is going towards renovating the locker rooms inside Moby Arena to increase space and allow separate areas for softball, volleyball, and both basketball teams to use. The remaining $1 million is being used to improve the west soccer field and softball field. Enhancements like these will also help with recruitment when athletes come to visit Colorado State.
There's the immediate benefit on how they serve your current roster members, but then every prospective student comes to campus, and one of the things that's really tangible is they evaluate what this experience could be for them is the facilities. So it's a big part of the importance of having great locker rooms and other great facilities to serve our students.
Some of the teams have been waiting years and others months. Their excitement can't be masked by how grateful the women athletes are to be obtaining these facilities thanks to Bohemian.
It's so cool to know that there's someone out there, an organization out there that cares so much about women's sports here, and so I just felt like completely overwhelmed with how awesome that is.
Yeah, I would agree to that too. Like, it's crazy that someone would be that generous to give us, like CSU, like women athletics, like such a awesome gift that like generations can like use to come, and it's amazing what people do.
With Canvas Stadium taking care of the south side of campus, thanks to the Bohemian Foundation, the north side will be more appealing to future Rams. It's exciting to see some progress in women's sports, especially this year for the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Back to you guys.
Yeah, no, that foundation's going to do a lot for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And unfortunately, some of the construction might not all the way be done by the time these Rams are here, which is kind of a bummer for the current athletes. But to all of the future Rams, I know they're going to appreciate it.
I think the ones still here are so grateful.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
obviously, for the
absolutely. Well, just the
donation.
fact that women's athletics were recognized in general like that here is a big thing.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll give you a live score update of volleyball's duel with Wyoming over in Moby Arena as we speak.
Plus an overview of the high school football scoreboard over the weekend. All of that and more on CTV Sports. Welcome back from the break, Rams.
CSU Volleyball is back on campus following a thrilling and dramatic pair of matches with the dreaded CU Buffaloes. It all started last Thursday when CSU trampled the Buffs 3-1 in front of a sellout crowd at Moby Arena. Rams front court players Kennedy Stanford and Naima Weathers had this to say about the atmosphere.
I mean, it's amazing, and knowing that this is the first time we as women's volleyball have ever sold out Moby, it felt amazing, and to see how many people that really is, look up in the rafters and see people up there cheering, felt so good.
Yeah, you know that it's going to be a sellout and that there's going to be a lot of people, and then you get in there and you're like, wow, this is a lot of people. So, oh yeah, it was definitely different, but it was different in a good way. It definitely got us energized.
And although CSU fell to CU in the succeeding matchup in Boulder the next day, the Rams have a chance to get back into that win column tonight. While Mike and I have been talking tonight, Rams volleyball has been at it with their rivals to the north, Wyoming over in Moby Arena, marking the start of conference play for both squads. Although we have just barely made a dent in the game, we are here to give you a live update on where things stand. But before that, let's look into what to expect. Right now on the season, Wyoming sits at a brutal 4-8 record, falling short to bigger competitors like Iowa State and Wichita State. Not only that, but failing to come away with any wins on the road at all. There are also a few ugly losses in there too, such as Santa Clara, Grand Canyon, Delaware, Winthrop, and Idaho. Although CSU is yet to consistently learn how to open and close strong, I believe this should be a rather easy victory. But enough speculation. Let's see how things have shaped up so far. Now for CSU, they are up 15-7 in just the first set, considering tip-off just happened a few minutes ago at 7. Karina Lieber is carrying things for this squad right now with 2 kills and 1 block, and CSU is destroying Wyoming in hitting percentage by almost .2. Now, like I said, I don't think this should be a hard victory for the Rams. It's just taking that third set and not losing it once we start strong. But I think we've touched on CSU sports as much as we can. Mike, how did high schools in the NoCo area do in football this past week?
Well, Ella, better than CSU football, I would hope. But anyway, you heard Ruby Kaiser give a detailed recap a couple of weeks ago. But how about 2 weeks later? Let's take a look. We'll start with the good with Fossil Ridge. Fossil Ridge High School put quite the spell on the Windsor Wizards, casting them away 33-0. And may I say this shutout win was impressive considering Windsor's respectable track record to that point. Pooter also recorded a shutout win, beating the 0-4 Brighton Bulldogs by 3 touchdowns. Fossil climbed back to 500 while Pooter improved to 3-1. Okay, that was the good, now for the bad. The Fort Collins Lambkins have had a tough start to the season, dropping their 3rd straight to Cherokee Trail 27-14. Meanwhile, Rocky Mountain got blundered by an unbeaten Eagle Crest squad 21-3. The Lobos have now been unable to find the pay dirt in the last 64 minutes of play. Despite the seldom rough times, members of the Fort Collins community should embrace what has been a relatively good start for NoCo high school football this year. Next week will mark the halfway point of the season, which means the 4 schools will now begin dueling it out with each other. We can't wait to see that unfold. And speaking of excitement, Ella, how did CSU alum Becky Hammond fare in the WNBA playoffs?
Well, Mike, if you watched our very first show of the semester, then you might remember us talking about one of our amazing CSU alums, Becky Hammond. The former Ram just completed one of the greatest coaching seasons of all time. In just her first year at the helm, Hammond won Coach of the Year, led her team to a franchise record in wins, and capped it off with a WNBA Finals win last Sunday. Now you are looking at the final moments of Game 4 of the finals. The Aces were dominant all season long under Hammond's reigns as they were an offensive nightmare for everyone they played, averaging around 90 points a game. However, Becky herself said it wasn't easy, but they knew what they needed to do to get it done. The Aces wasted very little time in this series by winning it in just 4 games. Hammond had this to say just moments after winning the title with her team.
Just really happy for the girls overall. They stayed focused. This has been the goal, since training camp. And luckily I got a group of really resilient players. And, I said it out there, but probably the biggest thing I'm proud of is just how they've come together over the course of the past 5-6 months to really become a team.
Las Vegas wins its first major professional championship as a city under Becky's handle. So if she had not accomplished enough, she can finally add being a WNBA champ to her resume. All the Ram fans across the country are proud to know that she shares the same bond of being a Ram, and we here at CTV wish her all the best as she looks to add even more to her already amazing resume.
When we come back, Rams, the 3 of us join forces for another edition of Out on a Miss It.
worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You could say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR. It's all good if you think you should check in. Yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back, Grams. As we mentioned at the top of the show, CSU football is in dire straits coming into week 4. The Rams have struggled to any success on offense except in garbage time with only 33 points for and a staggering 123 against. Should Ram fans be hitting the panic button at this point in the season with how things have played out thus far? What do you think, Ella?
Yeah, I hit the panic button the first week. I knew this was going to go downhill so fast, and now I'm double hitting the panic button and throwing my arms everywhere, throwing people panic buttons because we have people leaving the program. That is when things go downhill, is when our recruits don't want to be here anymore, because that tells everybody looking at the school, hey, stuff goes wrong and you shouldn't come because we came and it was a mistake.
I think it's huge that a coach comes here with players, and one of those players is already leaving. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't put a good taste in my mouth for the school, but you know, I think we still got a chance. I'm not going to panic yet, but I think we might want to start preparing for the worst.
I agree. I think we're in a panic for sure. This weekend against Sacramento State, not very many high hopes, but fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes.
I mean, I never even heard of them, so it's like I feel like we should win that.
Had you heard of Middle Tennessee State? No, you haven't, right? Let me answer the question for you. You hadn't heard of them. I mean, it's different if you take, a second stringer, a third stringer. They don't want to be in the program anymore. They want to be somewhere where they can be first string. I get that. But Melquan Stovall was the only bright spot this team had in these last few weeks. The only one. And I say that with confidence because Clay Millen is a good quarterback, but we have no O-line to protect him. No. Melquan Stovall can catch the ball and he can run. Those are the only two things that we need to score points.
Yeah, but we still got, Torrey Horton is an incredible player. And that connection is the only thing giving me hope.
Do you think Torrey Horton is going to want to stay in this program with Melquan Stovall leaving?
Yeah. Why not? He's getting all the touches. That's a wide receiver's dream, is to get all the targets, all the catches, all the touchdowns. Like, he's literally getting all of them.
A wide receiver's dream is to lose every single game by 30 points.
He's getting his stats up.
No, it's not. Because then that's how you don't make it to the NFL.
I don't know. Those stats can prove a lot for you going to the NFL.
Taylor said it at the top. We have, 32 points for us
yes.
on offense?
33.
Oh, I'm so sorry. 33
counts.
Points for our team and 23 sacks on Clay Millen.
That part hurts a lot.
Yeah,
I feel bad
it does,
for the guy.
right? We are a touchdown and a safety away from being tied with sacks and points. Just towards the sacks part of it, but you know what I mean. Yeah. That should never be a stat.
No, it should not, especially not for us.
And I don't think there's really much more to say. Some people are going to panic, some people aren't, but the bottom line is we're 0-3. We're not looking good. No. That's all we know.
If we go 1-11 and our one win is Wyoming, that's a good season.
Yeah, agreed.
I'll get rid of my panic button if that's the case.
Agreed.
And while we could talk about CSU football for forever, let's move on to the pros for a little bit and talk about whether we should panic about Broncos football. They had a little bit of a rocky start. They do have a win under their belt, unlike a green and gold team that we're familiar with. But what do you guys think? Is it time to worry about this team, or is it just beginners unlucky with Russell Wilson?
It's not panic at all.
No, I don't think so either.
The Texans, that was kind of bad. I'll admit. We should have beat
the Texans. Aren't a good team.
We should have beat them by a lot more. I agree. But I think our defense is looking good. Randy Gregory's looking really good. He's looking like he's worth the money. But I think we got a good team, and I don't think there's time to panic yet.
Now, is Russell Wilson looking like he's worth that money? That was big bucks.
That money, I don't know. But he's not looking bad, if you ask me.
I agree. I don't think he's looking bad. He needs to still get those orange colors, like get comfortable in orange and blue. And it's tough to play your original team for that one so quick into a season. And so I think there's still time.
I think week 1 was kind of a scratch off for the Broncos because not only did Seattle absolutely rattle Russell Wilson having him back there, I mean, that entire stadium booed him, but it's week 1. You see incredible teams who end up making it to the Super Bowl get absolutely destroyed week 1, and it's not an issue. That could be the Broncos' only loss of the season. So I'm not going to hit.
That's a big claim.
I'm saying it could be. It could be. I'm not saying that's going to be the true case. But I'm saying, honestly, I think Russell Wilson's a good leader. He's a good quarterback. He has the weapons to do well in this season. I think it's just a rocky start. They still beat him. A win's a win.
A win is a win.
A win is a win.
It still was not a good win. But I say 16-1 until proven otherwise. We'll see what we can do.
I don't know what to expect with this team when they face a rock-solid quarterback like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and we do play him twice this year.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It might be
so whether the Broncos are a second-place team, a third-place team, or they're actually going to be able to beat the Chiefs this year, I don't know.
I still don't think it's time to panic. I think
I
we got a good team.
Panic about CSU football before you're going to panic about the Broncos. That is one thing that we want to make very clear. If you are a CSU fan, worry about that first. Make that top priority, not the Broncos.
And with that, Rams, that's all the time we have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in to CAC's Closeout on Thursday for more sporting news. Leah will bring you a special segment on yet another never-before-mentioned CSU team. Thank you all so much for watching, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night.